리그 오브 레전드 플레이어들의 꿈의 무대 리그 오브 레전드 월드 챔피언십 5회 연속 월드 챔피언십 트로피를 들어올린 한국 대표팀 대한민국에서 펼쳐지는 2018 리그 오브 레전드 월드 챔피언십 KT 롤스터 아프리카 프릭스와 함께 LCK의 자존심을 위해 싸우게 될 팀은 누가 될 것인가 1라운드 SK텔레콤 T1과 Gen.G Esports
김수현입니다. KT 롤스터 그리고 아프리카 프릭스와 함께 월드 챔피언십으로 갈 마지막 한 팀을 가리는 대결. 2018 리그 오브 레전드 월드
It's the first day of the World's qualification match, and it will be SK Telecom versus Gen.G Esports. Those were the finalists of the last year's World Champions. However, they are facing here at the World's Regional Qualifiers matchup. We're going to have a short interview before going into today's matchup with the head coaches of each team. So here we are joined by Koma from SK Telecom and Ugom Choi from Gen.G. Hello. So is there anything you would like to say before going into today's series? I can't say Gen.G would be wanting so much to reach the Worlds. And today is the first challenge. Well, I think we have to prepare a lot. Last time we lost against SK Telecom, so I hope I can make a revenge today. So I'm solely focusing on making a revenge. I can see your strong will over here. And moving on to Goma. A lot of global fans are wanting SK Telecom to come to the Worlds. And you know, all the players will be wanting so much to get qualified for the World Championship. And today is the first challenge. If we win today, it's not the end. So we have prepared so hard. We are not thinking of not making into the Worlds, so we are just putting all our efforts for reaching out to the World Championship. I'm going to make sure to show better performance of SK Telecom. I think it's our first challenge. So thank you for the interview, and we'll be looking forward to great performances from both teams. Let's find out who will be the first winner of the World's Regional Qualifiers match. And I will pass it back to the casters from now on.
Welcome, guys, to the first day of the 2018 LoL World Championship LCK Regional Qualifier. We're here at SPO TV. It's me, Valdez, with Papa Smithy. We're going to be bringing you Gen.G up against SKT, the rematch from the last World Finals. It's going to be a fun one going into this best of 5.
But isn't it surreal, Valdez, that on the first day of the Regional Gauntlet, we get that double World Finals rematch? That's the part you forget. That was the World Final 2 years in a row. After today, guaranteed that won't be the case. Only one of these two teams will be alive, and they still have 2 further best of 5s against Griffin and, of course, Kingzone Dragon X, who are the current final boss of this Regional Gauntlet to get through. 3 teams out of the 4 in this tournament went to Worlds last year. They were the 3 representatives. Only one of them, and maybe even none of them, if the rookie upstarts Griffin qualify, can get to Worlds.
It's a funny world we're living in. It kind of feels like the new era of League of Legends in Korea is being ushered in as we speak. You mentioned 2 years in a row, the same 2 teams up at the World Finals. This year, it could be two totally different teams, and as you mentioned, these two teams may not even make it. As Goma said in the interview, he says this is the first step, right? It's just the first one. He's respecting Gen.G, but there are two really strong teams behind them. You guys can see all of the regional qualifiers that are happening around the world in LCK. The two teams that have made it so far, KT and FLICKR, both being ushered in. FLICKR actually make it in because KT did win the finals of the LCK Summer. Then we got the four teams that are battling it out there on the right.
You look around the world, RNG, IG, Fnatic, Team Vitality, TL, 100 Thieves, Flash Wolves, and MAD have all qualified already for the World Championship. Of course, some other teams in emerging regions as well. Looking at the qualifiers around the world, you have some very strong teams vying for those single spots. Of course, because it's Korea, we still do skip through the play-ins. The third team goes straight to the main event. But remember, that might not always be the way. If China continues to grow with their results, that may change in a couple of years' time. Let's zoom in on this tournament, Gen.G versus SK Telecom T1. That double World Finals rematch in 2 days' time, same time. Griffin versus the winner. And then on Sunday at the same time, Kingzone Dragon X versus the Gauntlet winner so far.
It's funny to see Griffin in the second round here after they did just go down to KT in the LCK Summer Final. But guys, we're going to get into this match before we get to any farther. Gen.G up on the left side of the arena so far, bringing in Fly to start the night.
And the defending world champions very frequently don't make it back to Worlds. SK Telecom was the first org to do that in 2016. Will Gen.G be there to defend their crown? Some people might have them as favorites today. Not many would have them as winning the Gauntlet. Do notice that of those double World Finalist players, the only one missing is the mid laner. Fly is once again preferred to crown.
Fly just overall having a better performance. We saw a couple of days of Crown who did come in and kind of looked mediocre, at least not as good as Fly. But the rest of the team still here trying to bring in that Gauntlet magic that they always seem to have every year.
Do remember that Ruler and Core JJ were over in Jakarta playing the Asia Games, but in the grand final, after some good results against China, did fold against Uzi and Ming. They'll want a better performance today against SK Telecom spot lane. There's a lot going on the side of SKT. People want to see FLICKR. Will they be seeing their king? It is the 2000th day of FLICKR's career today.
Wow.
Everyone tracks all the different milestones of a professional player for more than 5.5 years. But will he even be starting for SK Telecom T1?
Well, as you guys can see over on the right side, FLICKR is going to be in the booth tonight. This is the official reveal, and look at all of those championships he has: 2013, 15, 16, second place in 2017. And there's a little surprise for you guys. Untara up in the top lane, the first time in a long time for SKT.
Untara has not played a professional game since March 14th. That is 182 days ago. Did not play a single game in the entirety of summer, even though, of course, he had the experience advantage over Tal. What does it mean that on this day, in a must-win best-of-5, Untara is starting the series?
It means that SKT, amongst many other things, they've been scrimming so much, practicing, just trying to keep their hopes alive for 2018. They want to make it back into the Worlds, but it must mean that Tal is not doing as good as Untara. They're at least going to give Untara a chance here in Game 1.
And you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the 1 month of scrims plus they've had. It's been ages since SK Telecom played in a match they will want to forget. Remember, final day of the season against Kingzone. FLICKR Game 1, Pyrion in Game 2. No sign of Pyrion for Game 1 here, but of course we know the roster can change so quickly. FLICKR, the unkillable Demon King, wants to make it to a Worlds in Korea. That is one of the few things he has not achieved.
That's what he'd like to do this year. Of course, so many fans coming out. We're for sure going to have tons of people watching this matchup for many different reasons. Been asking around, you know, some people thinking Gen.G can make it, some towards the SKT side, but look at the last couple of years here, SKT actually dominant in the last year, 2018.
13-13 since we started 2017. That shows how much parity there is. The World Finals victory 3-2 for SKT is the match before the top there, so the only World's Finals scoreline is the one that Gen.G, then Samsung Galaxy fans will remember. The 3-0 over in the Bird's Nest. I was there firsthand for an amazing day of League of Legends with over 40,000 in the crowd. There's much less than 40,000 here in the Nexon Arena, but the stakes are very high, and we look over some of the trivia. A lot of things to take away here. I like looking at number 3. Remember, Ruler, CoreJJ, and FLICKR were all together, playing and scrimming together on that Asia Games lineup. Came away with the silver medal. Is there any inside info they came away with? That'll be fun to see.
I'm sure there is. I'm not sure if it's going to have a big effect on the way this match goes, but something that will, if you look at from 2017, whoever wins game 1 ends up winning the entire series, whether it's a sweep, whether it's a 3-2 or a 2-1, whoever gets that initial win eventually comes out on top.
Best of 3, best of 5, either way it's that spoiler, and for SKT, will it be all about the fact that it's in Korea where they did not qualify? Will it be like 2013, 15, 16, and 17 where they go through so many ominous things? I feel like if you look into the smoke screens, you can justify any prediction. You can justify your fears, but also your hopes. SK Telecom T1, their tradition is so strong. But this year, Valdez, tradition has really been on the back burner. It's all about the new guns, as you talked about.
Yep, the new era being zoomed in on so far.
That was Kevin Chu, actually, owner of Gen.G and, of course, Seoul Dynasty over in the Overwatch League. So nice to have him here. Front row, there's FLICKR. It's cool to see him. Is he going to have some new stuff to show? Because the patch is still 8:15, but that Akali pick is available.
The Akali's ready to be picked. We'll see if either team decides to pick that one up as we jump in a pick ban for game 1. As I was saying, Akali is going to be the first ban.
And when I was prepping, it just felt like another one of those series where Akali would be a blue and red side ban for Gen.G. Right now, blue side is favored over red side because there's a lot of must-ban champions. Akali, Urgot, just to mention 2. And there are other ones the teams will throw in, like the Rise, like the Aatrox. So people favor blue side with this reality, and it seems like Gen.G, it just doesn't fit Fly as a champion. That Akali is much more about the roamers. So already Akali banned out.
They're going to take the Gragas away from Blank here. We were going over our notes. Blank in summer was 0-5 on the Gragas. I remember he had a couple of decent games, but some of them were not so fantastic. But still, it is a flex pick. It doesn't have to go into the jungle. Even Untara can pick it up in the top lane if they really wanted to. A very strong pick right now.
And we've been looking over solo queue champion pools, and we'll talk about those. The picks come up. It's all about what's available. Tahm Kench full power, remember, guys, on 8:15. We're the only region whose playoffs and Gauntlet is on 8:15, not 8:16. With the Tahm Kench nurse, Urgot is available. Frequent first pick QV practicing in solo queue. And compared to the Akali that doesn't really fit Fly, this is also a mid lane pick for Fly, you think. So a flex pick Urgot is the predictable first pick.
Yeah, you have to think, what are they going to pick up? The Varus was another pick we had to deal with, but are they comfortable picking that right now into the bot lane? Maybe they want to get something a little bit comfort-wise, but then they go ahead and pick Talia straight up afterwards, after that Alistar.
And comfort's an important word, Valdez. I underline the Sejuani win rates. 8-2 for Ambition makes sense. Actually 8-3 for Blank, so it's been really big for both. Instead, SKT going down the tier list, Talia and these aggressive junglers with Period in the lineup, Blank looked really good. With FLICKR in the lineup, it changed the dynamics, so we're, for now, unconvinced on the power of the Talia pick specifically for SKT. For Gen.G, they're picking their bot lane early, but they're going safe as houses, the double CC duo of Ruler and CoreJJ on Varus and Braum.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic for Gen.G. You get that safe bottom lane, you get Ruler on something that can hard carry the Varus Braum in that safe bottom lane. It's not the Ezreal Tahm Kench with the ban, but it's just another version of that. We see Ornn picked up very early for the side of SKT, though.
And I'd call this the best loser against Urgot, which sounds like a really weird thing to say, but basically Urgot wins every lane with priority and takes Unsealed Spellbook and wins harder, and you're looking for a champion that can endure through and offers something in a fight. And Ornn offers his ultimate, which is as safe as houses. He buys some cloth armors and other items during the laning phase to sustain through. So Ornn is very good at containing the Urgot and not losing his turret. They're actually willing to take it in the first round, worried there'd be 2 further top lane bans sent against the top lane pool. But remember, even though Qvei's been playing in solo queue, we've seen plenty of mid lane Urgot over in Korea.
That's what makes it such an interesting pick. We haven't seen much of Untara. Maybe he's only comfortable on a few champions right now, or maybe Koma's only comfortable sending him out into games on a couple of champions. Ornn could be one of them. Decides to pick that up. Looking
in solo queue, GP, Urgot, Camille, Sion, and Jace. So a couple of tanks there, the Ornn, of course, and the Sion. A lot of overlapping things. Looking at the bans, the Yasuo ban. Once again goes to FLICKR. There's actually 3 knock-up champions already on the lineup. Kai'Sa available into the second round as the Varus was already selected.
Uh-oh.
We'll see where the priorities are. The Ashe is the go-to for Bang in recent minds. He's 4-1 on the pick. The Kai'Sa's the scaling option. Are we scaling against Urgot Varus? That sounds scary for SKT, but Gen.G's reputation is that they don't punish you hard enough early, and they take the scaling option just like Def did for KT against Gen.G.
I like the idea, if you could just sit back and farm on up. Bang is one of those guys on the side of SKT where you couldn't really point too many fingers to him. He was sometimes carrying on the Ezreal or picking up an Ashe and trying to carry his team.
What did I tell you in this pregame? The Xin Zhao practice is there for ambition. He's going proactive. Will the Lulu come with it to try to go for that unlosable 2v2 lane that we saw Team China do over at Asia Games? Maybe we'll go for a different type of utility. Feels like a utility mid laner like the Lulu or the Galio is recommended here. They'll go with the Galio, fly 7-0 undefeated on Galio.
So far, looks like a fantastic draft for the side of Gen.G, but what's going to go into the mid lane for FLICKR? We're hovering Illusion right now. Against that Galio, that's one way to get aggressive. We've seen a lot of different picks like this, the Fiora in times past, even stuff like a Darius. But how about Illusion?
You go over to Europe and it's Vayne, remember, but Azir would be a more quintessentially Korean choice. FLICKR's Azir gonna be hitting the Rift. Damage profile here was kind of open because you could go AP or AD Kai'Sa, so at the end of the day, they had a lot of options. No mid lane Vayne, thank you. I had my umbrage with that pick over on Twitter at that time. They're going to go for the Azir. Remember that when Griffin played the Galio in the 4th match of the semifinal, they banned Azir against a Freak of Freaks, so frequently banned. Is this Azir for this particular matchup? It's a nice scaling matchup for the Azir, but scaling, scaling, scaling. Will that scaling actually happen when if Taliyah starts to fall behind a Xin Zhao? Maybe the hunting season's going to be going for the side of Gen.G.
I like the idea. I'm not so convinced that Blanka's going to show up on this Taliyah and do a fantastic job up against Xin Zhao Galio. One thing to say about his Taliyah, that is he was 2-0 in the summer season. So again, he didn't have the most clean summer, but this is one of the champions that he actually does not have a loss on. It's very good right now on the tier list of junglers, so I can't blame it too much.
You just worry about the winning lane versus losing lane on paper scenario. Yes, Azir can poke, but Galio goes for frequent backs and can get through the lane and has kill pressure the moment ambition shows up. So if it turns into 2.5, maybe 3 winning lanes, the scaling on paper means very little. The paper's ripped up and the game ends pre-30 minutes, but not necessarily the reputation of Gen.G. Ambition may have locked Xin Zhao, but can he unlock the power of early game Xin Zhao?
Ambition, not really that type of jungler, but he is he's going to try to do it here. He will have a lot of support from Fly, from the mid lane, no doubt. And I'm sure a lot of Gen.G fans out there, they see Urgot first pick and then Varus Braum, and they're already counting their money after feeling like they have a very early good start to the draft with Xin Zhao and Galio to round it out. We're going to have a little delay as some settings are being fixed up before game number 1, as is pretty expected when you're playing a lot of computer games and stuff like that. But big story with Untara coming in here for game number 1. We were kind of joking in the bathroom saying, hey, maybe he comes out and goes legendary every game. Who knows? Maybe he's been in the time chamber practicing his heart out and he's won Koma's heart back.
Was that really the location? Did you have to include the location of where we were joking?
It was the bathroom. I mean, I'm just saying, Papa. But either way, guys, the countdown has started. We're ready to jump into game number 1. Let's do it. Gen.G up against SKT.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Well, both fan groups have come out in force here for game number 1. Still early on a weekday. We already almost have every seat filled up anyway, as these two teams, as you mentioned, the World Finals coming together once again here, and only one team can potentially even unlock a chance to make it to Worlds.
That's a surreal thing. Again, I was there in Beijing. I felt the roar of the crowd for SKT and Samsung Galaxy at the time. Samsung 3-0 winners on the day. And how did it come to this? 1 year later, where all 3 Worlds 2017 qualifiers are playing in the regional gauntlet, and maybe none of the 3 are favorites. Maybe Griffin, with their great level of play, even though they weren't able to win the final, are the favorites. So surreal that 1 year can bring so much change. And now with SKT over a month on the sidelines, Gen.G crashing out 2-0 at the start of the gauntlet. It's all about which of these slumping dynasties can once again wake up, as Cuvée takes a bit of a love tap from Untara back into lane.
I'm going to have my eyes set up into the top lane. You were talking about Unsealed Spellbook for the Urgot, but also a pretty common pick onto the Ornn. So both of these guys have an opportunity to put that early pressure on, you know, switch to an Ignite and try to do stuff like that early on.
Small note, if you look at Kai'Sa, she's taking Legends Bloodline for the lifesteal. This usually indicates AD Kai'Sa. If you're going AP Kai'Sa, you don't really have the AD values outside of the pickaxe and the Rage Blade to make use of the lifesteal, because of course it's percentage of attack damage. Therefore, it's usually the attack speed Bloodline if you're going AP. So probably AD Kai'Sa, probably for a little bit more power early, wants to fight at 1 item into 2 items.
Yeah, also took, I believe, cut down. There are a lot of tanks on the side of Gen.G, specifically the Galio and the Urgot, who can just build straight tanky, but also has that low health execute, which is, I know a lot of people after the finals were kind of arguing, complaining, if you will, about that because they feel like it's just too strong. Another Cho'Gath feel, but it's got some range on it, and he has a lot of other utility in his kit. That's part of the reason why he's so strong nowadays.
At the end of the day, SKT's scaling team fight is pretty insane here. You look at it and it makes perfect sense. They have strong engage, they have strong dueling. Azir and Kai'Sa, about as good 2 late-game threats. You could talk about hyper-scaling. But Gen.G's lane priority in 2 lanes, the Galio gank assist giving him a lot of invade options with the Xin Zhao. They win the 2v2 unless Blank gets the drop with a seismic shove. Given all of that and the power of the potential 1-3-1 and invasions here, if Gen.G get going, there's a real chance SKT don't get there. So SKT, they're holding up the white flag, but will Gen.G actually be able to punish?
Untara's first test here up in the top lane so far. It is pushing towards Cuvée, so the timing from Ambition is good, but it's not perfect. He couldn't get there just, you know, maybe 20 seconds later while it's pushing to try to go for that gank.
And yet, Ambition showing up for a gank at 3 minutes is the last thing you ever expect. So I'm surprised he showed respect given his, of course, reputation as a herbivore jungler. And it shows some more aggression here. No Wolf in the lineup today, so it's not the most experience they could go for. They could have also thrown in, of course, the legendary support, but instead effort has been preferred for a long time. They've been trying to run this their starting lineup ever since Casper Cup last year, let alone spring season, so no surprises there. Just a farm lane early. It's all on what Ambition can make happen around the map.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people will question, you know, why not Wolf? He has that experience. It's a best of 5 against Gen.G. I've kind of been liking effort. I feel like he is still a little bit inconsistent. I think that comes with his inexperience and just he needs more time to grow up and get rid of some of the nerves. Sometimes he comes out, and you guys will remember some of his Pyke games were pretty insane. His recon engages. Sometimes you looked at him and you were like, who is that actually in the support role? And then other times you looked at him and said, why the hell are they playing this guy? So I hope that the former effort does come out here to play tonight.
Very mechanically gifted player, especially on Engage, like you mentioned. Was largely on Tom Kent's duty by the end of the season.
Yeah.
The promise has been there, but as you say, the results have kind of been up and down. But you could say the same thing about SKT in 2018, largely on the down. You look at their overall win rate, 20 game wins, 24 game losses, -4 scoreline. First ever negative scoreline for SKT at the end of an LCK split. In fact, if you compare the spread, Gen.G are so positive overall in their wins, +12 wins over losses, -4, so a 16-game spread between the seasons of Gen.G and SKT.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G, they were up there towards the top. They were one of the Elite Four, as we called them, that had the same exact set ratio, wins to losses, at the end of the day here in LCK Summer. They were kind of the only ones that got shafted, though, towards the end. They are the lowest here in the gauntlet, and it all came down to, 1 or 2 game losses. So kind of unfortunate for them.
And then, of course, folded like a pack of cards. A Freak of Freaks showed up with the first time Predator Gragas coming through and just ran over them. Ambition played the Talia, you'll remember, and that didn't look like his style. The Xin Zhao's definitely dialing it towards the Talia and not towards the Sejuani that he's well known for. So we can't necessarily give Gen.G full credit. But you look at the Gen.G draft and you say, man, if KT had this draft, it's GG every time. The fact that it's Gen.G is the part which makes you question a little bit more, because they're usually looking for the scaling.
Well, you talked about Xin Zhao trying to dial up the aggression. Here he is once again, right at the red buff, right on top of Blank as well. Misses that seismic shove, and with that Galio coming in, first blood after the flash even. Really unfortunate there. Untara not able to help out in the end, and that's a good kill for Ambition.
And this is exactly what on paper the priority draft suggests. Your jungler walks up, all your lanes are pushed in, mid lane's gonna react first because there's a global, and Xin Zhao says, thank you very much, solo kill. Didn't even need the Galio in the end, and Ambition says, how about a double?
Yeah, I mean, if you play enough Talia, you'll go up against a lot of Xin Zhao. You miss that seismic shove, you're screwed. He's already got red smite. You can flash away. He'll follow flash you, right? It's really, really hard to get away from that Xin Zhao. I love the pick, and I love the fact that Ambition is actually playing to that aggressive side.
But you just wonder how SKT, with FLICKR in the lineup, always drafts these scaling comps that basically Blank has an aggressive jungle pick and no protection. Whether he's a strong early jungler or not, he's never going to get help from his team. So you always wonder why they go towards these, where he's honestly set up to fail when it comes to any sort of early game impact.
Well, we talked about it here on the casting desk, what to expect from the aggression from Xin Zhao Galio. It seems like Blank didn't really get the memo, though, because he kind of just walked right in. It's the perfect time for Xin Zhao to invade. Didn't put down a ward, maybe he didn't have one. Didn't flash early, right? He tried to fight first, he got knocked up. I'd say a little bit of a mistake there in handling the Xin Zhao engage.
AD Kaisa confirmed. Ambition, this is like the most time he's ever past the river.
It's crazy.
All season. He's had his times in the past where he'd play aggressively, but this summer season, he was the ultimate herbivore. Cloud Templar was nodding his head every time he saw him, saying, yeah, that's how I played my jungle Shen 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But very, very aggressive here. Nice to see again. Been training the Xin Zhao in solo queue, and because second most played for Fly is the Lulu, and they lost to the Lulu Xin Zhao at Asia Games, does make sense. That's something that Ruler and Core JJ brought back from Jakarta.
Like the idea. Saw a lot of question mark pings towards where Xin Zhao is, but now FLICKR's in a bit of trouble here. Does have that Shurima shuffle to get away. Still has both of his summoners. Gonna be totally fine.
No worries. Just gonna be fine at the end of the day. So going back to the farming here again, FLICKR just farming up in mid lane, up 19 CS, picked up about a wave and a half when Fly went for his rotation. SKT can afford to lose the minimum with a draft like this. So while we see the one kill, we nod our heads and say, yep, this is the start of something. Waiting for Gen.G to turn it into objectives. Turret health, Drakes, things like that. The Rift Herald spawning in 30 seconds. You can weather the storm and keep it within 1,000 gold in 15 to 20 minutes time. You're definitely happy if you're SKT.
Yeah. Definitely like that idea. How about a bit of aggression from Blank? We'll see if he wants to go ahead and throw down a wall. Of course, Braum can just block it, so CoreJJ actually in a really good spot. He did see that come down, and looks like Blank is not going to go for that opportunity.
Have to find a way to bait out the unbreakable. Not going to happen, and now we can see Blank is already gone. Thank you, Spo TV observers, for zooming out. Remember, guys, we're over at Spo TV instead of OGN like the final, so you can, at the top of your screen, there is Scuttle Crab counter 2-2, which, given how the game has gone, is actually pretty good for Blank.
Yeah, not bad. I'm curious to how he got that second one. I saw the first one. They just split the first two, and then Ambition did get the final one, so must have just snuck it in, perhaps on a back after Ambition did get that first kill. So not so bad at the end of the day. Does have a stopwatch as well as we pass 10 minutes.
Well, Urgot has the priority, as we've seen, from the fact that he's always above the kind of 50% mark of the top lane. Because he doesn't have the longest ranged auto attack, taking time to chip down the turret, about 80% turret health for the Ornn. There is plenty of space, however, for Xin Zhao to solo down the Drake. He's got the Warrior enchant, so no worries on this one. They will pick it up.
Yeah, as easy as you would like here. And see some wards come down from Effort, I'm sure SKT. And guess that this is going to happen, so there you go. Nice early Drake for him. I like the build from the Galio, though. The double Dark Seal already. We've seen so many Galio games where he essentially just doesn't die. Already off to a good start with the 1 assist and the 2 stacks. Could be a nice new build here from Fly.
It's all about back timings. He backed very early. Basically, you walk into lane as Galio, you try to Q auto the wave and get, you know, a lot of harass coming in from the Azir. Seeing FLICKR and Blank coming here, Ambition does not know, but he has pretty good senses and is able to walk away.
FLICKR leaves the lane. They see him not appear, so they know he must be somewhere else.
This is tricky. He actually bounces straight back in. Will be onto a wards. Doesn't end up leading to anything. But I like that Ambition is first rotation back, second instant rotation way back in.
And look at how they respond immediately, trying to go for a gank down on the bottom side. Flash forward here from Effort, trying to get that damage down on a CoreJJ. He's so close, but the heal gets him away as not enough damage comes out from Blank and Bang.
And even the FLICKR was rotating in to try to help, but 4 members can't pick up a single kill. Summon a heal only on one side, on the side of Ruler. Gets his teammate away. Nice escape from Gen.G, but I like that SKT understood they had a chance to make something happen. Use the vision of Ambition top to go in. It doesn't pay off, but it's a good sign for SKT, trying to find a counterpunch to all the innate pushing of Gen.G.
Definitely is a good sign. That's why I like how they responded immediately, trying to go for that. Speaking of which, trying to go for a gank here on a FLICKR, but again, it is Azir with Flash, and as you said before, you know, even if the ganks don't work out, if SKT only take a couple of kills here, FLICKR already most CS in the game and is already taken off on this Azir.
And that's the thing, is that, think back to Asia games, FLICKR was taking off a lot. His Orianna especially was once again back to super aggression. So it's nice to see him in terms of the 1v1 lane. He's on the Galio duty, he's trying to make things work. Ambition's going to be spotted. Rift Herald about 50% health, and FLICKR walks up, so does Fly. But Effort is here as a bonus member.
Yeah, he actually walked over a control ward. Not sure if they just skipped that or if they didn't see it. Looks like they didn't see it as Blank just walks by it again. Kind of unfortunate, but I love the idea that they know exactly when he's going. Even not on vision, I believe. He just went in and they say, okay, looks like he should be going for this objective now.
Clarity on QV just to stay topped up and stay in lane longer. One of those cool options you can use with the Unsealed Spellbook. Pushing, pushing, pushing. Wait and see how things go. We're watching Fly in the mid lane. Again, first use the hero's entrance was the right time, but wasn't necessary in the end. It being results orientated, it was a waste. Second usage, we'll see if it's better, as Ambition seems to be one-track minded, but is unvisioned in 2 different ways by SKT.
Now, Fly does have TP, is gonna back now and pick up some item. Is going to be the Rod of Ages. Good timing on that one. Notice how Effort is always getting that first roam up towards the top side and continuously stopping this Rift Herald from going down. They do not want to fight this 5v4 or 4v3.
And Bang going 80 Kai'Sa, has a Storm Racer, higher AD values, and of course is happy to just trim waves with his Q, which will have evolved on the next back, so he doesn't need his support as much as an AP Kai'Sa, who really is that puppy that needs to be loved for a very long time before the Kai'Sa is online, so it does give them more space for Effort and his boots and mobility to roam. We talked about how the lower range means the punishment hasn't been as severe, but still a priority lane, so goodbye 70% of the turret health for Untara.
Yeah, Kyuve's having a fun time up there. They just let it go by. They decided it is Gen.G. We don't want to let them have the Tomcan. Shirkan, also super strong. Aatrox as well. The 3 bans. That did allow the Urgot to go through. Urgot shines in the lane, but also shines once we get later on in the game. The team fights are pretty intense when he picks up the Gargoyle Stone Plate and essentially doesn't die and has all this utility.
Honestly, Urgot, in terms of team fights, people wonder, because he's not quite Jace, right, when it comes to team fight woes. I would say he's kind of a bouncer. He's used best next to a carry to peel, annoy, shred, and also execute with the ultimate. Yeah. If you get that fear beyond death of, it's not so much the assassination, but the fear in AoE that can be so big. Speaking of big, we're seeing a lot of members coalescing for a vision battle here. X-Flash, just zone.
I was getting excited there. We're allowed to get excited here now on LCK, as SKT did go ahead and make it to Worlds, and of course, win the Summer Finals. This time around, though, puts down the control ward here, Ambition, and 3rd time's the charm. Looks like he should be able to pick up that Rift Herald finally.
Fly gonna back away. The Rift Herald was the prize they put a lot into. Bring over Cuve, like you mentioned. They pick it up. So nice moment for Gen.G. They wanna put on the pace. At least they're not playing a full farm game. They're not as far ahead as they could want, but we said combine the objectives with the early kill. So far, Rift Herald, Mountain Drake. SKT's only kind of happiness is that of the 2 Drakes, no Infernals, Cloud Mountain, not the worst you could give away.
I mean, you look at the gold up at the top, it's just about, should be about 500 after this wave is cleared up. And well, we're going to go for a gank here onto Fly, knocking him up into Effort, who is looking for that stun. Nice block into the stun, but here's Ambition, is going to knock them back, and Fly will get out safely. Fly
lives through all of it. Aftershock and the innate tankiness means not even the Ignite can be enough from Effort. That was already Nationals too, so good damage coming out from the Azir. It's all about later, though. The scaling is much later for this Azir. Might just be second item Void Staff to have a bit more threat. So much standing gold here in top lane and also represented by the Rift Herald. But until that comes in, 700 gold is basically parity between Gen.G and SKT. So with the SKT scaling, advantage SKT.
It's very true. Ambition, though, still does have that Rift Herald, looking for an opportunity to use it. Might not want to use it up in the top lane because that turret is so low. Look at Umtara actually bullying Kyuve finally out of that lane after picking up the Frozen Heart and the Catalyst. He's super tanky now and can win those trades.
And these are the cool things that happen when you can just shop in lane. You stay longer, you have some items, and you're able to find windows to take advantage of. Speaking of windows,
Tara pretty far down the lane. They are going to get the knock up here. Cuve popping forward now. Do they have enough damage to chip him away? Looks like the answer is no. And SKT, in the meantime, pick up a Cloud Drake. Not half bad.
And SKT at their best in summer, which again was only kind of whispers, only a couple of games, were able to trade objectives pretty well. So nice little clap coming through from the SKT faithful. They understood the 2 members were wasting their time. Ends up being a turret for Drake, but you can't be results orientated. That turret was at 200, 300 health. So it's not a huge win for Gen.G, and SKT do split the map well.
I want to see what is the next move for Gen.G with that Rift Herald. To gank into a Rift Herald would be fantastic. It looks like with all the roaming that Effort did, the bottom turret has taken a little bit of extra damage.
But I do challenge you in a non-lane swap game to find a heat map from SpoTV where Ambition spent more time forward of river than ever before. It was good to see him actually role-playing the Mulan-esque Xin Zhao in this particular game with some aggression. Again, only payoff is a single kill. But sadly for Ambition, he's still Ambition, so one damage item's enough for him.
That's all that he's going to go for. Bang in a little bit of trouble here if he gets hit by anything. Does have the the cleanse flash, though. They're just looking for the Rift Herald opportunity here after the push forward. Looks like Effort and Blank not in position, trying to dunk on top of Fly once again, who does not have any summoners. This should be a kill to SKT, even though he is super tanky. Finally are going to take him down, and that kill does go to FLICKR.
No way to ult out of that one, so Fly goes down. Nice capitalization by SKT. You might as well sack bot lane. There's no way you're going to keep that turret up. The Rift Herald doesn't even get a second charge, so I think when it comes to the boxing match analogies, which of course a Worlds Finals rematch deserve, feels like the counter jabs from SKT compared to the first punches from the early priority draft from Gen.G are increasingly stabilizing this game towards a potential SKT teamfight victory.
Take a look at the replay. Some cool CGs here from Spo TV. Perfectly set up by FLICKR, blocks that one, and dunks him down into his team.
And that's quintessential FLICKR in form. What is the information I have? A great ward to guarantee my knowledge that I'll be able to get there with the streamer shuffle play. He's in mid lane wailing away. Nice see SKT on priority. And FLICKR says, I don't care about ambition.
The Shurima Shuffle, an instant cleanse to get out of that slow too. Ambition forced to ult just to survive on the backside. Guntaro's here for a potential follow-up, but not much doing. Kind of showing his face to help out, but a nice play once again by FLICKR.
The swagger never leaves you, says FLICKR, walking up to his old enemy Ambition. Everyone knows the two sides of that story, the debut solo kill in the mid lane, and of course, the World Championship victory for Ambition as the counterpoint last year. So much history between those two, so many champions in this gauntlet. SKT continue to stabilize. They're only 400 gold behind Gen.G.
Yep, gotta like their position so far as we just crest over the 20-minute mark. Effort just doing his best Tucson cosplay. Trying to miss that combo. Let's take a look at the damage, though. FLICKR, of course, it's a Azir up against a Galio. This is to be expected. But again, I mean, he does have that swagger. He is playing very well so far in this game. It's a good sign for SKT fans.
And Gen.G's early priority draft going against their innate playstyle. That read by SKT is increasingly playing off. Two items, like you say, on FLICKR. Hasn't gone Void stuff, but now has the Merlinomicon, so generally the Magic Pen going to be useful against the Squishies. Only Aftershock magic resist really there for Fly, so you can understand the theory. There's a real chance SKT are already teamfight ready, and especially when that Rage Blade is done, I think SKT is already online.
I love what FLICKR's doing. He says, we have vision of the rest of Gen.G. Fly, he doesn't have the mobility that I have. I'm going to get here first, and he's already pushed one turret by himself. Look at the top turret. That was about full health before. He's pulling the enemies up towards the top side and doing a good job.
And everyone on Gen.G's playing on their side. They're not playing like they have the priority. They're respecting that SKT's already overtaken this game. FLICKR will go over the wall. I remember joining in 2015 summer, and kind of the summer of FLICKR. He was in tip-top form that season. And it really felt there were so many games where FLICKR kind of had his own basketball and was just playing alone while everyone else followed him and watched him win the game. This early game is feeling eerily reminiscent of that 3 years later.
Again, it's the early game of Game 1, but it's definitely a really good sign for SKT fans. This is a FLICKR that is focused, he's on point, and he's looking to carry his team, right? A lot of people were saying, get FLICKR off SKT. You know, why can't they put a good squad together with this guy? Looks like he doesn't really care about all those sayings in this game. We'll see if he can keep it up, though.
I did an interview with FOMOS recently, and they asked me, what do you think of FLICKR? So many people around Korea saying he slipped, and I said, I can't say that for sure. I'll hold the point, though. Here he is.
Oh, boy. They're all going to get in the circle now on top of the Xin Zhao. He's nearly going to go down, though. Is able to jump on top of FLICKR, takes him out in the trade, and now the rest of them going to get away. Perfect binding up there by Ruler, is going to predict that flash, gets the kill onto playing. A 2-for-1 goes to Gen.G.
And you just have to do the math. There weren't enough members of SKT there because Untara's teleport was down. No ability to get into the fight. Very assertive from Gen.G. When you have globals, that's what you can do. And while FLICKR had the great engage, he just didn't have the allies around to make it happen.
Nobody was quite able to take out Xin Zhao in the end. Had just finished that magic resist item perfect up against Azir and Talia. And well, this is going to blow the gates wide open for Gen.G as they get the 2 kills and they get mid-turret.
I know you're a Talia fan, a big Talia player, Valdez. I'm sure you know the Xin Zhao matchup is frustrating, not just because there's that Olaf versus Talia thing where Xin Zhao can get in and do a lot of damage, but because the ultimate blocks so much of your damage, given the fact that you're ranged. So they worked out there for the side of Gen.G, and it's going to be super tanky, like you mentioned, without much threat now. With the Adaptive Helm second, very, very nice ultimate that you noted from Ruler, but it might just be an Infernal free to SKT as Gen.G are slow to set up, and they don't have those ults.
Just outpositioned a little bit there by SKT, not able to collapse on top of that Infernal Drake, so nicely done. Good read also by Bang, I would say, specifically. Starts it up, has the damage on the Kai'Sa already with 2.5 items. Now they're going to catch the Xin Zhao once again. This time they should have the damage as Ambition is going to get caught.
Very nice assertive pick. The mechanics has certainly not escaped the side of SKT. What can they do with this, though? They have position around Baron, good Baron damage, and if Ornn is there, someone to tank it. And Ornn is turned over to the exhaust. Of course, his teleport's still on cooldown. So for now, at least, the Baron threat isn't there. But what I want to say about SKT, what they're passing on the eye test compared to the SKT of over a month ago now, from the regular season, is there was so many times where a team would hit SKT and they'd lick their wounds. They'd all look a bit sullen, not even looking at the player counts, but just how passive they'd be afterwards. Here they are, fighting back after every good moment from Gen.G. There's been a good moment from SKT. Gonna watch this extended replay. This is not the pick just before. This is the start of the fight, showing just how tanky Ambition is.
I mean, FLICKR knocks him away so that he actually can't do damage because FLICKR's not inside the ultimate circle. Good read there from Ruler to actually get the chains of corruptions. The read on the flash onto Blank. Blank also was in between his Talia damage, in between the cycles, so he wasn't able to do damage even though Ambition was on top of him. So it's kind of an unfortunate play there. I wouldn't say it was an awful one. Definitely SKT looking for those picks and getting aggressive now with the damage that they have.
And you just look at the difference in the AD carries. Varus versus the Kai'Sa. Consider that Kai'Sa can reposition with her ultimate and always has aggressive options. This is Ruler, not on a Comet Varus. Back to the standard lethal tempo. Rage Blade by the Ruin King. He wants to stack up that Ginsu's Rage and hit the closest target. It's all about SKT not allowing that, as Untara and Cuvee doing a bit of trading on the bot side. But Cuvee, as we know, very tanky.
Super tanky, even has a little bit of a mobility himself on the Urgot, but now they're saying, okay, you bit off a little bit more than you can chew. They force the flash away from him, and they're still on the chase here, the Weaver's Wall, and this Urgot is going to die. Nice little play there by SKT.
Can't make those moves against Ornn, Amobi, Boo, Alistair, and Kai'Sa. They're always going to find something. Exactly. To close the distance and pick. Gen.G need to move much more. Like the shield that they are, they're very strong as a 5 when they have free attacks for Ruler. Instead, SKT, they're just getting pick after pick. Gold lead is gone now. It's nothing. The Infernal, if anything, represents an advantage for the side of SK Telecom T1. And feels like FLICKR is very, very close to the Void Staff and being basically the same as Ruler when it comes to consistent damage in a fight.
Yeah, couple of calls in a row by SKT as a team as well, where they're moving as a squad. You were talking about how Gen.G are not doing that. SKT, part of the problems that they had in summer were Tall teleporting into the abyss and dying, or somebody getting caught out for no reason, and overall just not really having a play shot caller and people getting caught out and not playing as a team. This time around in game 1, I see the exact opposite of that. Another good sign for them.
And again, I'll credit SKT, a team that's been criticized for scaling against every team. With the nameplates on, with the Gen.G nameplate, you know why they made these decisions. They're getting away with it just like KT, who were the first team to dare to play 2v2 Kai'Sa with the Kai'Sa, I believe Kai'Sa Alistair bot lane against the Morgana Varus, where they took advantage and many more teams followed suit after that. SKT went scaling, Gen.G haven't punished enough, and now it feels like SKT hold almost all the cards.
Little battle for vision over here. You can see CoreJJ trying to get in and get the sweeper. Blank and Effort together as a duo looking for a pick once again.
TP advantage for Untara, so back in the side lane for him. Cuvee, teleport ignite. We're going back to season 1 here, but just temporary, and this time FLICKR won't be caught by the Varus ultimate. Was FLICKR's karma in that world final, of course, by Ruler's Varus. Here we go.
Big engage by Effort a little bit early, but here's the Ornn. Gonna get on top of them, no unbreakable. The double knockup, but Galio gonna come in here and defend against that knockup. Good retreat, but once again, Ambition on the left side here is gonna be caught out, forced to flash away. In goes Bang, but Ambition, super low. He's going 1v3, and now Fly's gonna get caught out on the right side too. That's a double kill to Bang now.
SKT's so good at splitting up. Gen.G. Ruler never got to auto-attack anyone. I don't even think he got his Ginsu Rage Pass of the 6 autos to get that up. So SKT walk up to Baron. What's Gen.G going to do? Ambition has to recall.
SKT looking super solid here in game number 1. And one thing we didn't talk about too much is the Baron damage. Azir, Talia, Kai'Sa, you are going to rip that to shreds, even without a Mountain Drake. They take it out here already at 29 minutes.
We didn't know it would be relevant because it felt like Gen.G should control, but let's watch the replay and really watch Ruler because he's hit his items. He needs to be able to fight. We go back too far. Sorry, Ruler. We don't watch that one. We can ignore that one. Stacks up his Ginsu Rage. He loses it here. Takes a headbutt Pulverize, and remember how Gen.G need to fight. Front to back, Ruler free autoing. Watch how many autos Ruler is able to get. He's still milling around. Ambition stays for too long, thinks he can engage on the side. His friend Cuvée could have told him what happens if you stand away. Watch Ruler's autos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just gets Ginsu's Rage and never gets an auto with it afterwards. No value out of Ruler. We talked about SKT can always reposition. That repositioning is just outthinking Gen.G in a fight.
I mean, you look at the draft of SKT, the first 3 picks, Alistar, Talia, Ornn. But Alistar and Ornn together, the Alistar effort goes in, gets a really nice flash Pulverize on the 3 members. Varus has to flash. If you have an AD carry that has no mobility against an Ornn, you cannot dodge it. You are just going to get knocked up. So he was zoned out for so long. SKT playing their composition very well and surprisingly very strong here in the mid game.
And as he's walking back, feeling bad about going airborne, the soldiers can always be repositioned. The Kai'Sa can always choose that moment to pop the killer instinct. And there is no reverse thing available for Gen.G. So SKT keeps splitting Gen.G apart. Now we're seeing them walk into the inner turret. It's the first Baron buff. If they could break the base on this, it feels like the beginning of the end for Gen.G.
I mean, the way they're playing, it's like they have so much confidence. Like they feel like they already have the game in the bag. And when you have a Kai'Sa that's already this strong, alongside the Azir, together level 17, the highest in the game. They're going for it, and they get him again. No flash on top of the Varus, and down he will go. Cuvée all alone in the back. Faker nearly dies, but it doesn't matter. Bang in the front line, alongside Blank, are able to do that damage. Faker will go down in the end, but the push is still strong.
Form is temporary, class is permanent. Faker's always looking for those scoops. They scoop Ruler. There's nothing left for Gen.G. That's all their damage. Cuvé's down as well. How much can they get done here? There's not much wave clear up for Gen.G.
Yeah, only 25 seconds. I say only, but that Varus gonna take a while to come on in here. And it looks like SKT gonna be a little bit passive about this. Ambition going on in. Nice seismic shove from that Talia. And they're just desperate at this point. Gen.G, no way to kill anybody here. 2 more kills to the side of SKT. Fly nearly gonna go down, but SKT, they're looking for the win.
Doesn't even matter about the respawns. Ruler's back up, but I think Gen.G's in the death chamber.
Wow, SKT, what a performance here in game number 1. The mechanics still there for effort. They're gonna take it and get off to a really nice start here in the series.
Suddenly it feels like it's 2015 again. Faker playmaker. SKT looking for some scaling, but actually being smart with the counter punches. The gold lead never ballooned, never over 2,000 gold. And Azir shows up with 3 items, and Gen.G show up with a game 1 loss.
Wow, okay. This is not the way I expected game number 1 to go, with a scaling composition from SKT just smashing Gen.G in 30 minutes. But there you have it, SKT coming out to play tonight. Bang looking really good on his Kai'Sa as well.
So many people sending their energy to SKT, whether it's Korean fans in the audience or even on Twitter. You post about this match and the SKT fans walk up and say, this is our time, we always make worlds. It didn't feel like this was the year, but if it was all judged on a best of 1, full marks SKT, a fantastic best of 1 to start up this series.
And look at this guy, Faker. He gets the matchup, the Azir into the Galio. He dominates the lane. He gets a couple of big picks for his team. And, well, he's here to play tonight. Let's see this replay from that last fight. He gets another scoop.
When you give Faker all the options, playmaking, damage, and also his knowledge of the enemy summoners, he dies to the turret. We won't talk about that, but he gets the pick that they need because SKT still have a portfolio of carries. Gen.G only had Ruler. Ruler goes down first, so did Gen.G. Very, very extended. I'm going to have to zoom up the replay, but in this one passage of play, SKT wins.
At the end of the day, the Xin Zhao got the early kill, but outside of that, not much. I feel like Ambition got caught a couple of times too many. And, well, once you get to that mid game and you're going up against two hyper carries that are fed, you're not going to be doing too much as the Xin Zhao. Not too much support from the rest of his team either. 7th
in the regular season, but all will be forgiven if SK Telecom T1 can make it through a motley crew of the best of Korea in this regional qualifier. 10,000 gold lead at the end, but notice never above 2,000, even though in basically every lane, Gen.G came up trumps on paper.
Yeah, definitely speaks volumes. Even the damage so far ahead for SKT. They get 3 Drakes, even though they had that scaling composition. They got the Cloud Drake on the back of a gank on the top side. They snuck away an Infernal based on just not the best positioning from Gen.G. And after that, they just ran away from the game. They certainly looked in control in game 1. That's something you can say for sure.
Well, all you that predicted 3-0 Gen.G, rip up that paper because it's certainly not going that way. We got a break coming up, but can we see this SKT for an entire best of 5?
Is the old SKT back? 2013 SKT perhaps. Let's see, guys. We're going to go to a break and come back for game number 2.
오늘 형만 얘는 스포츠 이용이 샀나?
연봉으로 감금 주의 응? 연봉으로 스포츠 인수가 무슨 거 무슨 하면 인수가 하나? 네, 배우리에는 성공 추적 기능이 있어요.
만남이랑 딱 있어.
아, 이거.
아, 아이템 좋아하는 거지.
우리 아빠야.
잘생기셨는데?
그래서 내가 잘생겼잖아. 그래서 내가 잘생겼잖아, 한주야. 별로.
아, 진짜
별로 안 닮았어요.
아이, 잘생겼어. 미치겠네. 형, 아빠 안 닮았어.
아니. 이번엔 소식이야. 가줄게. 너는 소식이다. 셋업을. 오케이, 나탱이야. 오늘 소식해. 너 소식해. 나 소식해. 오케이. 맞다. 좋은 것 같아. 아, 이거 산다. 이거 산다. 그럼. 가자. 무시야. 무시야 오케이. 아주 잘했어. 지금 어땠습니까? 야, 좋았어. 만족하십니까? 좋아요. 아, 그 박동수 죽였어. 당신의 눈을 그 아빠를 그려졌습니다.
뭐 죽어야 돼? 어? 공부가 해. 애쉬가 좋아, 탐색이. 왜? 애쉬가 좋아, 바로 쓰고 좋아. 이건 상관없어. 메이크업 중이라고. 애쉬가 좋아, 여기 들린다. 바로 쓰고 좋아. 말하지 말라고.
들리면 뭐 끄지 않을까? 이 소리가 이상하면? 안 보여. 뭔가 저거 보여? 안 보여. 저거 뭔가 우리 보면서 들고 주시는데
안 보여.
안 보여.
뭐야? 여기 레이저.
보고 올게.
여기 레이저.
뭐였어? 건모보러 강릉에서 왔대. 어? 건모 팬이야. 심판만 박수 100번 쳤어.
이게 바이크 선수들이랑
짐을 싸셨거든요. 네. 발권 수분은 어떻게 해야 되지?
아 그거 그냥 놔두셔야 될 것 같아요. 발권 수가 되게 예민해서.
예, 본인이 짐이시네.
그냥
예.
아니 이거 왜 아무도 안 챙겨주지?
위엔 선수는 발권 수분 예민하시다면 나도 좋고.
세팅할 때만 예민하다.
너는? 좀 안 뜯긴 한데 한 3일 됐어. 상관없어. 몇 시에 열심히 어떻게 쓰는 거예요? 이거 따라봐요. 뜯고 들어 누워. 누워서 눈에 넣어. 들어놓고 이거 눈을 이렇게 올려. 올리고 넣어. 여기가 넣어. 도와줄까? 오 잘하네. 너무 잘하네. 이제 휴지를 닦으면 돼. 아이고 나한테 좀 이렇게 손님 다해. MVP는 감독이신다. 오. 야, 울지마. 300점. 하지 말라고. 하지 마. 300점이다. 지금 안 싸냐고 지금 안 써. 너 지금 안 싸고 있어. 얘 지금 안 싸고 있네. 와, MVP 받았다고 이거 비공할 때 이게 심각이 안 써? MVP 받으면 당연히 지금 끝까지 싸는 거다. 선수분 얘기해보세요. 아, 제가 많이 돼요. 제가 여기 없어요. 이렇게 키우진 않았는데 이렇게. 그냥 저거 너 이렇게 키우지 않았어? 키 5만 짜리 져가지고. 제일 잘했다 오늘.